Hey, what's going on, guys? Just kind of wanted to hop on here and do another video. This one's going to be about suspension. I know this is a very very hard topic to kind of go over, just because there's so many different cars that to choose from. You have your Truck Works, you have your basic slash LCGs, your DR10s. The Bullet chassis that just came out. So there's going to be a lot of different variances within suspension. So just kind of want to go over what I have done on my car. So right now I am running I'm trying to get a little better shot of everything. So I am running a Drag Race Concepts 0 degree front bulkhead. This is kind of a Frankenstein car, so I've done quite a few different things. I was running a Backyards RC front bulkhead, which is a 2.5, but I unfortunately had a incident with the curb. So was going down, making a nice pull, and my car decided it wanted to take flight. It landed sideways, jumped a curb, it cracked, being it was a 3D printed part. It cracked the ear off right here, and the front end was this whole front end piece was just dangling. So I'm running Drag Race Concepts 0 degree aluminum. This thing is super light. I mean, when they sent me it in the bag, I didn't even think anything was in the box. So, but anyway, that is that. So I can get this very flat front end, as you can see there. But yeah, that's what that is. And then I am running some Traxxas big bore shocks, and then I had some extra Proline. They're Power Stroke shorter front shocks without the secondary shock here. And then I have some spacers in here to keep a little bit of tension. So my front end's pretty stiff. Let's put it that way. So I used to run the stock front bulkhead here, which was, I think it's like 30 degrees or something. It's something hard or something really steep. So with what was happening was, with this front end being up, my suspension was going front to back, or more of a up or down motion. So it was changing the wheelbase, basically. So going down the road, it was being very, very inconsistent. So with it going more flat or horizontal, my suspension can literally go up and down, so my wheelbase doesn't change, if that makes sense. So it's pretty much like a normal car. I mean, you won't find any car that I've ever seen in the front, or normal car, I guess, where their A-arms are pretty much at a 30 degree angle. It's just not going to happen, because the suspension is going to go, front to back and hit the fender wells. It's the same thing with these cars. Some of the stuff in real life does transfer over. A lot of it doesn't, but in this case, the car has been a lot more stable at higher speeds, with it, tracking a little bit better with suspension like this. I will say probably a lot of the folks going pretty quick have a suspension pretty similar to this. A lot of people have different setups. Of course, they're probably very fast people with normal stock tracks and stuff. I'm not going to bash them at all. Just, whatever works for you. But for me, what I've noticed is a very flat front end, and also too, you can get it pretty low on the front end here. So that's another thing. But yeah, I'm using Bandit with front end A-arms from RPM. That was another thing. Some folks prefer to have the Traxxas A-arms, which they're very hard plastic, which they should be, because they're meant for bashing. Which is fine. But also I've had this car for 8 years or so, and it's gone through, I don't know how many different phases of its life. But RPM, I've had the rear ones forever, and I've never been able to break one. So that was just me. They flex. Yes, they do flex a little bit, but they're more durable. So I don't know why. And they're a little bit lighter. So some people on some of the pages that I'm on Some people are like, no, change, leave them with the stock. Some people are like, no, I run RPM, they're fine. Which I'm in that boat. I ran them forever. I haven't had any issues. But that's just me. If you want, you can take this and take it with a grain of salt, or you can take my advice and run with it. That's just my experience with them. I've had a lot of luck with them. Only thing is, I've had slash width ones before, which was fine because I'm using the carriers and Traxxas caster blocks and everything. Only thing when I switched over to this is I'll zoom in here. I actually had to cut, or I had to notch this front area out just for them to fit. That's the only thing I've had to modify on this car. And as far as the A-arms, everything else fits like normal. I didn't have to mess with the turnbuckles or anything. I just kind of ran them all the way in, which is fine because they're actually stiffer that way. You don't have a whole lot of slop because there's not a whole bunch of threads showing here. But yeah, everything else is usual. That's another thing that I do on my car is, I'll flip it here without making too much noise, is I actually run my servo horn. It actually has 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. Obviously right here, it's going to have a lot of throw, a lot of pitch here in your steering. So what I do is I actually put it on the bottom hole where it kind of limits the steering. So whenever you're trying to overcorrect a little bit, it only, switches it slightly. It doesn't have a whole lot of, the DR10s, luckily you do have a setting on the remote itself. There's a trim level, which my dad has a DR10, so I was able to look at this and try it out, where you can actually limit how much steering you have, which is awesome. I wish I can have that option, but I don't. I'm sure I can make myself do it, but it's just one screw. You just move it down and you kind of lose that. So, but yeah, and I'll move actually to the rear here. Kind of lift it up a little bit. Actually, I could probably do without this. There we go. So this is the rear of my car. I am running a sway bar in the rear. This is completely custom, something that I put together myself. Since I did flip the transmission, and I have an RPM trans case, and what's different about this is it actually comes with toe ears. What I mean by that is right here where the trans bolts to the transmission to the chassis, you can actually put 0 toe, or you can put a 3-degree toe. Well, I wanted 0, but since my transmission's backwards, that means the arms are going to be going this way. So what I had to do is I had to take that 3-degree ear and flip it upside down so I can get the 0 toe angle that I was looking for. What I was going to do was, I was going to show you the sway bar. This is another topic some people are talking about on the forums is, do I run a sway bar? Do I not run a sway bar? Honestly, it's up to you. This is, if there was an industry standard on real racing, then there wouldn't be really any competition. So it's all about what you want to run. What I will do here is show you this. Let me take a second here and pull these screws out. And kind of free up the rear end here. So if you see the back of my car, I'll try to get this a little square. So if you push up on this side, it kind of slightly pulls up the other. So that means, if things kind of go cattywampus on one side, the other side will kind of compensate and do the same thing. I don't really have a whole lot of wire here as far as a gauge, so it has some flexibility. There's a little bit of you can see that. So if I hold down this side, it still kind of pushes it down. So they are working. And one thing also too that I did is, as you've probably seen, these are like the different holes here. What I've noticed is if you have a little bit more of an angle, the suspension is trying to push this way, so it puts a lot more, I wouldn't say strain, but it makes it a little bit more stiffer. And also too, it depends on the hole. I have ran my suspension completely vertical, which it's worked great. It's worked fine, especially since I put a thicker spring here. And I think the sway bar actually gives it a nice little touch as far as keeping this thing going straight and true. I am running these on my secondary holes here. There's only 3 holes, so the middle ones, just so it has a little bit of an angle. I might switch it back to the straight up and down, but then it goes to pretty much the inside hole here, which there's not a whole lot of stiffness in there, and it kind of gives a little bit more of a softer feel. But it's tuning. I still haven't got the antidote that I'm looking for, but with testing, it'll come to fruition once I find the golden rule that works for me. So, but nonetheless, that is pretty much my overview and take on suspension. There are so many different ways to do this. That's just what I've done, what's helped me. Obviously, I have a pretty unconventional car, I would say. So, whatever I do may not work for you. These are just kind of pointers on what to look for as far as tuning. But yeah, it's all fun and that's what we're all trying to strive for. But yeah, do whatever you can. I've listened to other people and it's made me slower for whatever reason. So I just try to find my own path, especially with this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, that's this episode on suspension. So yeah, if you liked the video, please feel free to like it. If you haven't already, subscribe. But if you haven't gone back and looked at my other videos, feel free to look at those. But I am open to suggestions on some future episodes. So, please don't be shy to drop those down below. So thanks guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.